of his speech, Mortification. Mortification, Des Moran.
The Scottish poet Robbie Burns once startled a mouse. Its reaction inspired him to write, "We sleekit, cowering, timorous beastie, oh what a panic's in thy breastie." That was me in my younger days. Oh, cowering, timorous, hostage to mortification. Playing in the local park as a small child, I was curious to see if my head would fit between some iron railings. Stuck solid, unable to move backwards, unable to move forward. The bars held my little head in an iron grip. Passers-by were drawn to the scene. Soon a crowd had gathered, pulling, prodding at me, discussing potential solutions. The local parks authority, a crowbar, the fire brigade. I would have been less embarrassed had I been stuck in some medieval pillory for a heinous crime. Thankfully, my mother was located. She arrived on the scene with a bar of soap and some water. My head must have received the soaping of the century before I eventually slipped free from the bars and from my captive audience to sheepishly head home under the protective arm of my mother. We've all felt embarrassment, but the accumulated states of embarrassment over the course of my younger life pile this high. Summertime saw us teenage kids gather at the river to hang out, maybe take a dip if the water was not icy cold. Everyone sat on a long concrete wall overlooking the riverbank, chatting with their friends, enjoying the view, taking in the weak Irish sun. I decided to go for a swim. I dived in, hoping to show off my diving prowess, maybe even catch the attention of a few girls. Well, I ended up showing off much more than my diving prowess. The force of the dive pushed my shorts down around my knees. I instinctively pulled them back up again and continued to swim, hoping that no one had noticed. Some minutes later, I exited the river, climbed back onto the bank with my friends. It turns out that as I jumped in, a girl sitting on the bank had screamed, "Look at that guy, his shorts have come down!" 40 teenagers roared with laughter at the sight of this pale white behind bouncing up and down on the surface of the water, making a premiere appearance to the elements and the onlooking gallery. On learning of this news, my countenance took on a hue of deep crimson. Years later, witnesses to that afternoon's event are still coming to terms with how such a pallid rump and crimson red face could possibly belong to the same person. Time passed. I was ready to venture into the real world and find a job. I sat down for my first job interview with my heart rattling against my ribcage. As the interview commenced, a sense of vertigo took over as I fought hard not to fall backwards out of my chair in front of the interviewer. Things accelerated from there. Although I was only sitting in a chair, my body was reacting as if I was hurtling through space in a rocket ship, hanging on desperately, utterly helpless. not knowing what to do. The Klingons in Star Trek took on a new meaning as I clung on grimly. I wanted the rocket ship to stop, but not too suddenly in case I was hurled forward into the arms of my prospective employer. Teetering on the brink of self-combustion, I glanced up to see a most stern-looking interviewer close his file and say, "The job is yours." Turns out they had already decided to offer me the job based on my application forms. What if I had fallen out of my chair before the job was offered to me? My career in financial services might never have got off the ground. Reflecting on these past experiences now, life was somehow more eventful when mortification took hold. So don't dwell on past mistakes and embarrassments. If you want to move forward, look back and learn how to laugh at yourself. Mr. Contest Chair.